So, today we are endeavoring to save every single soul who watches this all the way through. Now, what does it mean to be saved? It just means that you live in love instead of living in fear or judgment. Alright, that was easy. I guess you don't have to actually watch the rest of the video now, but I'm going to keep talking anyways just to waste your time. I'm glad all I had to do was say that and everybody heard it, unlike all the other thousands of people who have said it, and, everybody just ignored it for some reason. Oh, whatever. Maybe there's a little more to it than that. Worst things first, we must meet reality where reality stands. One may reject the idea of a soul, or of spiritual evolution, or of calculated malicious influence over past human evolution, and it is your privilege as an entity to live in whatever ignorance you so choose to live in. However, to deny the spiritual components of reality, oddly enough, is almost always a major detriment in the process of evolution. It is theoretically possible to progress spiritually towards an ideal morality and perfection and love while psychologically rejecting spiritual components of reality, but it is generally better to acknowledge the cursed ground we walk upon. Now, you may ask, what right do I have to attempt to save people's souls? What are my qualifications? And I admit I am not the most painted saint, and I don't fake a persona to trick those living under the world's false morality. However, I have been in and out of heaven 6 times, going on 7, so I know a thing or two about rekindling the bonfires of ashen ones. So the first and possibly most important awareness of consciousness necessary to approach divine perception is a proper understanding of the nature and impact of judgment. Now, so as to avoid ambiguity, I will define the 2 primary potential interpretations of judgment. The first interpretation of judgment is in the context of simple awareness, as in it is only logical in observing the reality around us to judge or to be aware of certain things. This definition does not cast blame. I'll keep losing track of where I am because I'm trying to read as well as have this video going, so let me find my place again real quick. Right, this definition does not cast blame, but simply understands. This is not the kind of judgment which creates contention or strife, and it is not really the primary interpretation of the word. But it is one way that it could be understood, so I have to make sure there is clarity for when we get to the main definition, because this is important. Now, within this definition, you may judge someone, you may understand someone to be unintelligent without disparaging them, and just accepting that that is the only way they are able to approach reality. So I will reiterate. Passive judgment is simply awareness and does not have intrinsic negative connotations. However, the primary definition of judgment, in which the individual chooses to disparage that which they judge, or to instinctively feed upon a vain ego boost by projecting bitterness upon the object of judgment, is one of, if not the primary inhibitor in the evolution of the soul. I speak truly. Every judgment of this sort reflects directly upon the one who judges. All energy directed towards petty contention serves only to entrap he or she. All energy directed towards petty contention serves only to entrap he or she who projects it into their own negative cycle. I'm not entirely sure how to articulate this with the proper gravity because it is one of the main traps of the animal nature, so I will simply say it again. It is well to be aware of the limitations of others, but to curse them in judgment serves no positive purpose whatsoever. And I'm going to scroll in my document for one moment. Alright, but to curse them in judgment serves no positive purpose whatsoever, but only damages your own ability. To think and spend time considering greater potentials This is not to say that there are not those who deserve grand negative judgments, but to dwell on them or to reassure the self from their pathetic behavior. To reassure the self from their pathetic behavior is destructive. Be aware and perhaps pity them. But the goal of a conscious soul is always to create the best possible reality it can imagine. When we cast judgment, it creates consent for the reality paradigm of suffering and condemnation. So, there's a big fundamental balance check we need to have on our subconscious impulses. Yep. Step 1 to salvation. There's still a lot of roadblocks and speed bumps along the narrow path, though, so watch out. One may think, oh, I already have religion, I am already saved. Yet almost all the teachings of the true saints have been systematically tainted by Satan to trick the weak into a false contentment and reassurance. It is work to embrace the powerful flow of pure love. None are saved who profess religion but live not in love. Alright, I'm going to have a slight intermission to sort out my thoughts. What am I on? Who do I think is looking to me for basic fundamental spiritual advice? I guess I just say things because I wish to say them, and if the whole world happened to listen, if the whole world happened... If the whole world happened to abandon living in judgment, it would instantly become a totally different and better world. The same applies to the microscopic scale of the individual. So I speak not because I think the world will hear me, but because I want a few people to share the joy of toying with their own understanding, just a bit. Yet it is difficult to reach people where they are. For the unreasonable will never hear reason, and the vulgar will never attempt to understand their own nature. Or will they? So, did it work? Are you going to live in love instead of judgment or fear now? I know it's super obvious and... it's super obvious and everybody knows it, but we aren't always consciously acknowledging it. And not everybody seems to be working towards it for some reason. I guess I just figured I might as well say it again, repeat what's already been beaten down in my own way, so there it was. For a closer, I'm just going to make up some random stuff that comes to my mind. Still spelling, swelling spills, red will, blue villain. Fill fallen flailing ills bloody well, watery quill. Staring at the staircase, tie your laces in case we're encased in a bookcase or caged in a place where the crooks lay in basements waiting to debase the rat race. Splendid renditions of premonitions of demolitions. The ancient mission of inhibiting inhibition. The vision isn't televised, but the live stream is bitchin'. It's just my soul. What good does it do anyone? Perhaps one day some superior soul will troll through all my lost musings and publish my most quintessential quotes under a more popular persona. That some fragmented echo of my stolen hopes will become relevant to more of the world. It is difficult not to be defeatist when I know that both my profound love and my unimaginable agony are irrelevant to the malevolent. Salvation, it sounds so tainted, doesn't it? It's supposed to be about finding purity and love within oneself, but instead we think it's about condemnation and unworthiness. So many words are tainted in connotation, and the process of living in love requires that we understand whether or not intent is being misrepresented.